Gareth Southgate's World Cup squad has answered the pleas of every barroom pundit who ever exclaimed, "Give the kids a chance." There have been plenty of those, an ever-increasing army who grew more and more exasperated with the failure at the big tournaments of various generations of England superstars. The frustration was understandable, but the endless demand to give youth its head often sounded too glib an answer to the team's problems. Southgate has cleverly changed all that after picking the youngest England party to travel to a World Cup since Chile in 1962. AFP, Getty Images. He has no fears about giving youngsters like Trent Alexander-Arnold and Ruben Loftus-Cheek their opportunity. The average age is just over 26. But the manager has made it plain that his selections for Russia have been based solely on form. So he has given the people what they want without there being any hint that he has one eye on creating good PR. Or that he is kowtowing to vested interests. There has been no public outcry over his decisions. Most fans think he's got it right. England train ahead of Nigeria friendly. The key thing is there are so few older players who would warrant a place these days, anyway. Beyond those Southgate has jettisoned, like Joe Hart, 31, Jack Wilshere, 26, and Chris Smalling, 28, and the 32-year-old elder statesman Gary Cahill, who has made the cut. Who else? Among the longer-established performers of the Premier League warranted a call-up. Adam Lallana, 30, was worth a place, but his injury battles have cost him and his ingenuity will be missed. But there are no longer any big, imposing figures like John Terry, Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard and Rio Ferdinand to be called upon. And the public seems to like it that way after the men who achieved so much for their clubs failed so depressingly to repeat their success for their country. Now comes the familiar routine of the phony war, which precedes each World Cup. Right on cue as the squad gathered at St. George's Park this week, it swung into action with the furore over Raheem Sterling's gun tattoo. At worst, this was ill-advised by the Manchester City forward. Certainly, though, it was a reminder for Southgate to expect the unexpected as the glare upon his men intensifies in the coming weeks. AFP, Getty Images. With England, the team which had one manager, Kevin Keegan, quit in the Wembley toilets and lost another, Glenn Hoddle, because of his spiritual beliefs, it is always the best policy to be aware that something bizarre and difficult will occur. Remember the infamous Capello Index? Sven-Goran Eriksson's affair with an FA secretary? Something nearly always comes out of left field to set fire to the front pages at times like these. Sterling said that in part, the AK-47 depicted on his right calf was placed there because he scores goals with his right foot. Hostage to fortune has been created. What if he fires blanks in Russia? Social media, and the mainstream version, will be quick to pounce. Despite this, it can still be hoped that the youthfulness of the squad and its apparent lack of overblown egos, that includes Sterling despite the tattoo, will help England avoid the pitfalls off the pitch which have cost them so dearly in the past. Once, the public put its faith in big characters, those listed above and before them, the big men like Alan Shearer, Tony Adams and Teddy Sheringham. But success never came. This time, the sense is different. This young squad is altogether more low-key. It could be helpful. As will the fact that Brazil 2014 and France 2010 were so abysmal that the heat around them has been turned down considerably. Gareth Southgate has insisted he is not looking to buy time by picking a youthful England. Certainly, Southgate has played a blinder so far in projecting a relaxed and unfussy mood music. It suggests that the off-field matters which have unbalanced previous squads will simply not bother him, or his players. These are players, too, who have grown up in the era of social media. They are used to its prying glare but aware that it gives them their own platform of communication with the public. It should make them more comfortable with the pressures which have borne so heavily on previous squads. This is the period in which everything from the team's hotel arrangements to the question of whether they will be allowed ketchup or not will come under intense examination. Will there be a PlayStation room? Are wives and kids allowed to visit? Will the mini bars be removed from each room? These are the matters raised each time by a voracious media. It is a familiar routine and, fair enough, it has been slightly damaging. Yet the real source of the issues off the field which have harmed England so much has always lain within the squad itself and inside the FA. Recently, Ferdinand has confessed that inter-club rivalries with international colleagues like Lampard and Gerrard created fault lines in the squad during the era of the so-called Golden Generation. Meanwhile, for more than a decade between the appointment as coach of Sven-Göran Eriksson in 2001 and the departure of Fabio Capello in 2012, the England setup became an ever-inflating big top of hype, bluster, superstar egomania, wags, spin and arrogance. Gareth Southgate confident England World Cup squad will not be split by club rivalries at each World Cup. The FA grandiosely contrived to locate this circus as far from the heart of the tournament as could be, thereby leaving the players utterly disconnected from its heartbeat. In Japan and South Korea in 2002, they were based on a Thunderbird-style island, protected by patrolling submarines no less. In Germany 4 years later, they perched themselves in an overblown fairy tale castle on a Black Forest hilltop. Action images via Reuters. No wonder everybody else at the competition, and the incredulous public back home, thought England were way too far up themselves. On to South Africa in 2010 and Capello switched the HQ's surroundings to those of the bleak Big Tie belt at Camp Rustenburg. There was far less luxury but, once more, England were disconnected from the tournament. Roy Hodgson managed to avoid this particular mistake during his 3 tournaments in charge. The FA learned some humility and the circus was toned down, although performances became gradually worse and the side managed to get beaten by Iceland at Euro 2016 while staying in refined luxury in Chantilly French horse racing country. The base next month will be at Reppino on the Gulf of Finland, an hour from St. Petersburg. It's quiet and unfussy. The hotel looks okay. It shouldn't really warrant much interest, to be honest. It's just a hotel. New England captain Harry Kane believes they can win the World Cup at this World Cup. England are just a team. A young one. But no more and no less. It may mean that after so much fuss and so much failure, they find a simple way to win back some respectability on the international tournament stage.